Today's Cowboys Mailbag is presented by Thrive Fantasy. If you're wondering, wait, what exactly is this? I got you guys covered. Head over to chatsports.com/props. Use promo code CHAT100 for a 100% deposit match. And oh, by the way, Thrive Fantasy, it's fun. It's pretty darn simple, right? You're going to pick 10 players out of their 20 different options, and you'll pick over-unders for various individual stats, rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, total yards, completions, and you can win big prizes as well. Join my game. It's a $5 game, NFL Week 11 Rush, and there are such big amounts of prize pools in there, you're almost guaranteed to win some money. So chatsports.com/props, promo code CHAT100, and I'll tell you more about them in a little bit. A super chat from Gus Jackson. How about trading down with the Bears for their first rounder and Eddie Jackson? The Bears, of course, go get a quarterback. I am intrigued by this idea. I mean, if you can get, let's say, pick number 4, you send that out, you get pick 15 and Eddie Jackson. Like, yeah, I'm all over it. Like, Eddie Jackson solidifies one of your biggest needs, which is a long-term impact playmaker at safety. The problem is, the Bears' mindset of going to get a quarterback is that they're trying to compete while they have a cheap young one, and trading away Eddie Jackson doesn't necessarily help you in that area for Chicago. So I would do it. I'm just not convinced the Bears are going to pursue that route. From Robert Animation, so if Andy Dalton doesn't do well, will Garrett Gilbert start or no? It's a great question. I think if Dalton struggles, and I think they'd give him 2 games to just see where he's at, I do think the Cowboys would go back to Garrett Gilbert. Coaches want to win games. Players want to win games. If they decide that, you know what, Dalton has just completely lost it, maybe it's time to make the move to Garrett Gilbert. So, you mentioned AD and GG, so get your votes in here. Pick a quarterback for me. AD for Andy Dalton, or type in GG for Garrett Gilbert. Who do you guys want? I'm going to make this the pinned comment on today's video, so scroll on down and get your votes in. From Dwayne Jackson, if by some miracle we get the number 1 pick, should we hold the picks for ransom, for more pick, of course, or take Trevor Lawrence? Man, that's a good question. I am inclined to, I think I just take Lawrence. There's no wrong choice here. Because the draft pick haul, even going from 1 to 2, that you would get for Trevor Lawrence, I think would be significant. But I think there's only a handful of NFL teams that should not take Trevor Lawrence in the event that they got the number 1 overall pick. I think he's the best quarterback prospect we've seen in years. Yes, you are going to set yourself up in a situation where you're resetting the quarterback contract, and yes, there's risk involved there as well. And I'm not sure I do it for Justin Fields. I would not do it for Zach Wilson or Trey Lance because you have Dak Prescott. But I think for Trevor Lawrence, I think I would have to. I don't think I could be the team that passed on taking him at number 1 overall. From my burner account, what's your mid-season assessment of the 2020 rookie class? All right, I'll try and go rapid fire here for the Cowboys rookies. CeeDee Lamb looks absolutely awesome. Huge hit right there. Great selection. Trevon Diggs was showing a lot of promise, so I like the direction that he was heading in. Neville Gallimore is coming off one of his better games this year, so I like, again, upward direction. For where they were taken, I'd almost argue 3 hits based on the early results. Reggie Robinson hasn't been able to play. Incomplete grade at that one. Tyler Biadasz, I mean, again, great value. Back end of round 4, he was your starting center. That's a really promising sign. Bradley and I can't really get on the field that much, but he made the roster as a round 5 pick, so I'll take that. And then Ben DiNucci, well, that one, he started as a 7th round pick, so I guess by definition that's also a hit. Overall, this has been a very good rookie class for where they were taken. I think you should feel pretty good about it. As mentioned, Thrive Fantasy is the presenting sponsor on today's show. Daily fantasy sports, all built around player props. If you want some examples and 5 of my 10 picks this week, because you guys can challenge me in my game this week, I'm going Alvin Kamara over 59.5 rushing yards. I think he can hit that. You better believe I'm taking over half an interception for Carson Wentz, and I'll go over for everything because life is too short to ever go with the under. Nick Chubb over half a rushing touchdown, same with Darren Waller, which is me doubling down on some of my other fantasy picks I've got this week. Patrick Mahomes over 306.5 total yards because he's going to light up that Raiders defense that has nobody actually out there. There's even a little prop bet you can bet on as part of the Cowboys prop, that you can pick for the Cowboys or against the Vikings here. Dalvin Cook total yards 120.5. Get your votes in here, by the way. O for over, U for under. Which way are you going here for Dalvin Cook? DeMarcus Lawrence said some stuff about being able to stop the run here. We'll see if that actually ends up happening. Now, I gave you guys here 5 of my picks. I'm not going to give away all 10 because you can challenge me this week in this $5 game. It's NFL Week 11 Rush. To get in that game, head over to chatsports.com/props. Use the promo code you see on screen. It's chat100. That'll get you a 100% deposit match. It's a $5 game. There's a massive prize pool. So even if you don't win, you're probably going to place and make some money there. Go check them out at chatsports.com/props. Use that promo code chat100. A super chat now from Michael Andrews. I think tanking is going to take a team that is mentally on an edge. It's going to set in a losing mentality. I'm old enough to remember when the Niners tanked, got the number 2 overall pick, and then made the Super Bowl the very next year. So I understand where you're coming from, that you don't want to have a losing culture. But you know what's a great way to build a winning culture? Is to get better football players. And if you're the Cowboys, and of course the players aren't going to tank, and the coaches aren't going to tank necessarily, but if players are banged up, maybe you sit them a little bit earlier. You don't go all out and make a bunch of aggressive moves, try and win a bad division. I get where you're coming from, Michael. But I am more concerned about finding a way to get the best team possible next year when I'm actually going to be a better and more competent football team. Getting a higher draft pick is going to help me do that. All right, Andres Lanes. Dallas says tank for the number 1 pick. Jags take the 2nd. Jets in the 3rd. Then send our first to the Jets for their first, their 2nd draft pick, and Quinnen Williams. I don't know how you're going to out-tank the Jets. We mentioned how the Cowboys might lose some games, might win some games down the stretch. The Jets aren't going to win games. You might have already won too many games to out-tank the Jets. So it's a fun idea. Don't get your hopes up there. I have a very difficult time seeing the Cowboys actually get that number 1 overall pick. From Snag-a-Cavett, if Jamar Chase is on the board, would you draft him and then trade Cooper or Gallup away for picks or a defensive back? I don't think that I would. I like Jamar Chase a lot. It is once again a very good wide receiver class. If I was going to trade away Cooper, Gallup for picks or a defensive back, I think I'd still go defense in round 1 and then take another receiver later on because, again, it's a very strong draft class. I think you're getting worse at receiver if you do that. If you get a first-round pick, again, you're kind of more breaking even at that point. So I think the better path would be take a defensive player or trade down. Chase is fun. It's, again, a great receiver class, but I don't know if that's the best usage of all of your assets if you are the Cowboys. Another super chat from Resistance. Can you play cornerback, Tom? Do I look like I can? I played that growing up, but certainly not at the NFL level. The NFL is not looking for a 6-foot, not in great shape guy who's not very fast to play corner. That's not something. Oh, I've got great ball skills, Brett. Don't you dare say that. I just don't know if that's going to be the route that the Cowboys end up going. I would not take me, is what I'm saying here. So who do you not want the Dallas Cowboys to draft? Let me know in the comments section here. What player or players are you trying to avoid if you are the Cowboys, if you were to run the Cowboys in the NFL draft? I'm looking mostly at round 1 here, so get your votes in. Who do you not want the Dallas Cowboys to take this year? From Patrick Mitchell. Say the Cowboys end up with pick number 7 or 8. The 4 quarterbacks and Penei Sewell have already been taken, and no one wants to trade up. Who do you take? I think I'm just going to take the best defensive player on the board. Maybe that's a Caleb Farley, that's Patrick Surtain, Micah Parsons, even Gregory Rousseau. I'm going defense there, and to be honest, I'm going defense or trade down over Penei Sewell anyway, because I need defensive help a lot more than I need a left tackle who might not even play left tackle for me in year one. From Fat Sushi Man, who's your player comp for Patrick Surtain? I haven't done a full eval of him yet. I mean, there are moments where it's kind of like watching his dad play football. Not great top-end speed, but everything else is pretty darn good. So check in with me again closer to the actual end of the season. I do want to give Surtain an entire rest of the season to kind of fully flesh out his play, but it's going to be a good player comp because I think he's a pretty darn good football player. We will keep you covered on everything around the NFL draft for the Cowboys because they're just not that good at football this year, but we're not going anywhere. So if you haven't already, hit that big red button and subscribe today. That way you don't miss out on anything around the Cowboys in season and in the offseason as well. From my alleged burner account, have Woods, Chido, and Lewis done enough to stay next season? I mean, it depends on what cost. Like, Awuzie's barely played this year. Xavier Woods has been up and down. Jourdan Lewis is nice, really good number 4 corner, maybe even better than Anthony Brown still. If they're signing super cheap, heck yeah. But if I'm paying them like market rate, if I'm paying them Anthony Brown money even, I don't know if that's the route I want to go. So potentially, it all comes down to the money for me. As you pay quarterbacks big money, the result and the way NFL teams approach is the middle class ends up getting squeezed out. I think Xavier Woods, Chidobe Awuzie, and Jourdan Lewis all fit in that category. From Culver House, what's the deal with Tyron Smith? He's out for the year because his neck went from being able to play to then being out for the season, which was really weird. As for Tyron next year, I think he's going to be okay. I am concerned about it. I feel okay about having Brandon Knight as a short-term replacement, but it's probably time to start looking long-term, not necessarily in round 1, to look for a backup and future left tackle. From Braden, trade DeMarcus, Dak, and Zeke for the 2nd pick and then take Trey Lance. No, I'm not doing that. Why am I trading away my best defensive player and a top 10, if not top 5 quarterback for Trey Lance? I'm not doing that trade. I'm giving away the 2 best assets in there, man. The first asset, and then assets 3 and 4 in that deal, and you're dumping Zeke at that point. That's a horrible trade for Dallas. I have zero desire to do that deal. If you want to take Trey Lance, okay, take him with your 1st round pick. And then you can deal away Dak and Tank and whatever and get better assets. So I am against that deal here. I'm being a little bit mean, and I'm sorry, but I'm going to tell you guys like it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'll tell you my actual opinion here. From Hunter Medding, say Dallas gets a top 5 pick, then we draft Penei Sewell and we trade Tyron for maybe a mid to late 1st from a left tackle needy team. Then we draft the best defensive player available. It is a path the Cowboys could pursue. I do wonder if coming off of the neck injury, if you're going to see Tyron go for that amount of value. I wouldn't settle for anything less, but NFL teams are terrified of injuries. They might be a little bit skittish there. My biggest concern here is you're not getting as good of a defensive player, and yes, maybe long-term you're in good shape with Penei Sewell, but you got worse this year at left tackle. As much as I like Sewell, he's not going to be as good as Tyron has been over his NFL career immediately. That's concerning for me. From Henry, should we take Hamsah Nasirildeen? He seems pretty good. He missed a lot of time early this year with some injury stuff. He's working his way back now. I like him. I think he fits pretty well as a box safety. I'm not going to take him in round 1, but I think in day 2, there are going to be quite a few notable safeties. Hamsah Nasirildeen, at Florida State, by the way. I forgot to mention that. He might be a good option for Dallas in day 2.